Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Santhosh Singh, working as an associate professor in Department of Physics. Today, I am going to deliver a lecture on the topic research culture. It comes under Exceed program. So, in this video lecture, I am going to tell about what is the basic terminology which is used in research, and if you perform any research work, what the basic things you require at a thinking level, what is the procedure, what do you have to think before doing the start any research, and what you have to need to understand, and what is the basic terminology which is used during the research process. Okay, so first, what is the research? So research is, there are many definitions. Some of definition is given here. Research may be very broadly defined as systematic gathering of data and information and its analysis for development or advancement of knowledge in any subjects. The another definition is researcher attempts to find the answer of intellectual and practical questions through application of systematic methods. The one famous website in USA, Webster, that is generally give his dictionary. So according to that website, the research is defined as studious inquiry or examination, especially investigation or experimentation aimed at the discovery and interpretation of facts, revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts, or practical application of such new or revised theories or laws. Further, another acceptable definition is, some people consider research as a movement or a movement from the known things to unknown. Research is a movement from known things to unknown. Okay. So thus, research is an original contribution to the existing stock of knowledge, making for its advancement. It is the pursuit of truth with the help of study, observation, comparison, and experiment. In short, the search for knowledge through objective and systematic method of finding a solution to a problem is research. Okay. So the systematic approach concerning generalization and the formulation of theory is also research. As such, the term research refers to the systematic method consisting of enunciating the problem, formulating the hypothesis, collecting the facts or data, analyzing the facts, and reaching certain conclusion either in the form of solutions toward the concerned problem or in certain generalization for some theoretical formulation. So this is the basic definition which are generally used for research. So all these definitions are acceptable. Basically, research is movement of unknown to known. Movement from known to unknown. Now, after the definition of research, we should define the objective of research. What should your objective of research? What should be your objective of research? So the purpose of research is to discover an answer to a question through the application of scientific procedures. The main aim of research is to find out the truth which is hidden and which has not been discovered as yet. Though each research study has its own specific purpose, we may think of research objective as following into a number of following broad grouping. So the research objective can be categorized in the following four groups. The first is the gain familiarity with a phenomena or to achieve a new insight into it. Okay, so in this group, the studies with this object in view are termed as a exploratory or formulatory research study. Means you want to familiar with anything, and for that purpose, if you performed any research, suppose if I want to know only from which material this surface is made, so for that purpose we analyze this material, we experiment some on this material, and if anyhow we find what is this material, that is the end of our research, and then this research comes under formulative research section. Okay, or exploratory or formulative research study. This type of research comes under exploratory or formulative research study. Now, the second group is to portray accurately the characteristics of particular individual situation or a group. Study with this object in view are known as descriptive research study. Descriptive research study means if I want to know the characteristics, what is the characteristics of these materials? First thing, I want to know from which material the surface is made. Anyhow, if I find my answer through research, then this type of research comes under formulative or exploratory research. Further, if I want to know what is the properties of this material, then we go for descriptive research. We have to perform some further experiment. Okay, what is the properties of this material? So this type of research is known as descriptive research study. Now further, the another group, to determine the frequency with which something occurs or with which it is associated with something else. So study with this object in view are known as diagnostic research study. Means there are something known thing, and to categorize any another thing in that category is known as diagnostic type of research. Suppose there are several material who can generate a light with the help of electricity. Okay, and we can group all these material who can generate the light with the help of electricity in one group. Now, if any another material came which can generate a light with the help of electricity, and that material will go in same group. So that type of research is known as diagnostic research study. And further, to test a hypothesis of causal relationship between variables, such studies are known as hypothesis testing research study. Hypothesis testing research study. Now, here term is involved hypothesis. So hypothesis is nothing but a general rule, and if anything follow that rule, means if anything past that known law will come under certain category. Suppose I did my research in field of transparent conducting material. I am giving myself research experience. So there are several material in this universe, and only few are showing a transparent conducting property. So why this few? Because these few material are only able to fulfill the hypothesis of transparent conducting materials. Means there are some certain hypothesis is set for transparent conducting material. The first one is, suppose there is the free charge carrier concentration should be 10 to the power 18 per centimeter cube. The band gap value Eg is equal to 3.2 electron volt. The absorption coefficient should be around 10 to the power 4. So whatever the material who follow these things, these are, we consider these parameters as a hypothesis. If these, whatever the material follow these parameters, means follow the hypothesis, they will consider it as a transparent conducting material. So for searching the new material, new transparent conducting material, what we need to do? We need to explore several materials. We need to calculate their free charge carrier density. We need to calculate their band gap. We need to calculate their absorption coefficient. And test means we are testing the hypothesis. Okay. So this type of studies comes under hypothesis testing research studies. Now, further, all these 4 research objectives here, this is first one, this is second, this 3, third, this is 4, means what is exploratory or formulative research study, descriptive research study, or diagnostic research study, or hypothesis research study, or comes under these 7 group of research. Okay, all these type of research can be done, can be performed by help of this type of research. Okay, that is empirical, descriptive, analytical, applied research, fundamental research, quantitative research, qualitative research, empirical research. Okay, first one is descriptive research, analytical research, applied research, fundamental research, quantitative research, qualitative research, empirical research. Okay, so descriptive research or formulative research is a very simple research study or very fundamental research study. If you discover any fundamental thing about any unknown thing, that comes under descriptive research. Okay, as I earlier told. Now, analytical research. Analytical research means analytical research is concerned with determining the validity of hypothesis based on analysis of fact collected. Means, as I gave the example of transparent conducting material, where what we put a hypothesis there, Eg should be 3.2 electron volt, free charge carrier density up to 10 to the power 18 per centimeter cube, absorption coefficient should be less than or equal to 10 to the power 4. Okay, so if suppose these are our hypothesis of testing the transparent conducting material, and we want to search again, I am giving same example, I want to search a new transparent conducting material which have a very low cost material, so that where there it is used, the cost, all the devices where these materials are used, that devices will become a cost effective. So that we need a cheaper material. For that purpose, we need to search different type of display devices, different type of transparent conducting material. So for that purpose, researcher or scientists are exploring several materials and validating the hypothesis. Okay. So that type of research is come under analytical research. Okay. Now, applied research. What is applied research? Applied research means any research. If I
don't write anything. This one. This area.
Okay. In applied research, if any research study has been performed, then within a very short period of time, that research should be implemented. Means if I search any new photovoltaic material or energy material, and on the basis of that energy material or photovoltaic material, some battery or some power cell or some photovoltaic cell will be created, then that type of research is known as applied research. Means clear-cut implementation of your research, either as a device, either as a machine, or either as a policy making. Generally, we are science people or engineering people background, from engineering background, but there are some humanity field also, like history, literature, or at a policy, international relation. So in that field, the research is also performed, and all these descriptive, analytical, fundamental, applied, qualitative, empirical research or quantitative research have been also performed in humanities field also. And where in humanities and arts field, the applied research will be implemented at a policy level. Okay. So that is the applied research. Now a fundamental research. I am moving in on fundamental research. What is fundamental research? That type of research comes under a generous research category, where researchers are fulfill his own desire, for his own curiosity, they perform their research, and may or may not be there no direct implementation of their research, cannot develop a direct devices direct at a policy level, but they may be useful after several years as a device level or as a policy level, but at instant that type of research cannot be implemented. Okay, that type of research is known as a fundamental research. Now, quantitative research. Quantitative research means if there is a large number of data, quantitative research makes a substantial use of measurement and quantitative analysis techniques. Means where we need to collect a large number of data, measurements, okay, and quantitative analysis, mean, median, modes, many things, whatever you can think in quantitative manner, that can be used. So that type of researching comes under the category of quantitative research. Now, the another research category is qualitative research. So, what is the qualitative research? Qualitative research studies that the research subject which are not quantifiable and hence not subject to measurement and quantitative analysis. Okay. anything which we cannot quantify, we cannot measure, that thing it comes under qualitative research purposes. So what is the best example of this qualitative research? Suppose like emotion, you cannot measure the emotion, but on the basis of this emotion, many policies will be created, will be implemented. So on the basis of that thing, you cannot quantify your emotions, but on the basis of that thing, many thing will be happening. So all such type of research, all such type of thing which cannot be quantified, but you cannot measure, and but research have been done in that category, comes under qualitative research. Okay. Further, in, there are another category that is known as conceptual research. It's involved in investigation of thoughts and ideas and developing a new ideas or interpreting the old ones based on logical reasoning. In contrast, empirical research is based on firm variable data collected by either observation of facts under natural condition or obtained through experimentation. So there are some another category known as a conceptual research and empirical research. So in conceptual research category involves the investigation of thoughts and idea and developing a new ideas or interpreting the old one based on logical reasoning. Okay. In contrast, empirical research is based on firm variable data collected by either observation of facts under natural condition or obtained through experimentation. So conceptual research is nothing but investigation of thoughts and idea and developing a new idea, or interpreting the old one based on a logical reasoning. But empirical research, you have to go for new experiment, collect the data, and based on that data and study, you have to draw any conclusion. Then this type of research comes under empirical research. Some other type of research is also, all other type of research are variation of one or more of the above state approach based on either the purpose of research or the time required to accomplish a research, on the environment in which research is done, or on the basis of some other similar factor. From that point of view of time, we can think of research either as a one-time research or longitudinal research. So some other type research category, there are mainly two category: one-time research or longitudinal research. Now further, I am going to define the one-time research phenomena and longitudinal research phenomena. So in one-time research phenomena, research is confined to a single time period, where in the latter case, means for longitudinal research is carried on over several time periods. Research can be field setting research or laboratory research or simulation research, depending on the environment which it is to be carried out. Means in one time research, you have to perform your experiment only one time, and you have to collect the data. On the basis of that data, you can draw your conclusion. After analyzing that data, you can draw your conclusion. But in a longitudinal research, you have to perform your experiment again and again, and on the basis of that data, you can say that what is your conclusion. Suppose the population of India, you have to count after each 10 years. So this is also one type of research which have to perform again and again on the basis of one time research process. You cannot tell that what is the population of India. Okay, if today it is X, after 10 years maybe it is increased, maybe it is decreased, it is not be a fixed. Okay, so this type of this is some another category of research. One time research, actually this is a process, one time research process or longitudinal research process. Now this is same thing, type of research. The research may be exploratory or it may be formalized. Actually this section is, this slide is about validating of your research. So each and every type of research is validated now. So the research may be exploratory or it may be formalized. The objective of exploratory research is to development of hypothesis rather than their testing. Okay. Whereas formalized research study are those with substantial structure and with specific hypothesis to be tested. Okay. Means if you want to do some denser research comparison to formalized research, you have to go with exploratory research process. Now another thing is historical research is that one another category. Historical research. Historical research is that which utilize historical sources like documents, okay, remains etc. to study the event or idea of the past, including the philosophy of the person and group at any remote point of the time. Okay. So that type of research comes under historical research. Historical research. Okay. Now research can also be classified as conclusion oriented and decision oriented. This is important. There are several types of research, I have already told you. Okay. So this is most important thing. Research can also be classified as a conclusion oriented and decision oriented. While doing a conclusion, a researcher is free to pick up a problem, redesign the inquiry as he proceeds, and is prepared to conceptualize as he wishes. Now, decision-oriented research is always for the need of a decision maker, and the researcher in this case is not free to embark upon research according to his own inclination. Okay. So, these are difference between decision-oriented research and conclusion-oriented research. I am again going to tell this thing. While doing a conclusion, I am telling about a conclusion-oriented research. So while doing a conclusion or drawing a conclusion, a researcher is free to pick up a problem, redesign the inquiry as he proceeds, and is prepared to conceptualize as he wishes. Means, suppose any researcher perform any research or study, and before the starting the research, his objective of research is different. He performed the study, now it is time to draw a conclusion. Whatever he finding after analyzing the data, he finding some different thing than whatever he thinking before starting of the research. So that thing is stated here. While doing the conclusion, a researcher is free to pick up a problem. Now maybe on the basis of that conclusion, whole problem statement will be changed. Okay. So a researcher is free to pick up a problem, redesign the inquiry as he proceeds, and is prepared to conceptualize as he wishes. Okay. Maybe. Now, decision oriented research is always for the need of decision maker. Decision oriented research. Decision oriented research is always for a need of decision maker, and the researcher in this case is not free to embark upon research according to his own inclination. Suppose any research have been done. Now conclusion is not up to the mark according to decision maker. So at that time, researcher not free to embark upon research according to his own inclination. Researcher cannot give a right conclusion. Okay. Because that research has been done for decision making. Either you have to do accordingly or you can escape from that research which have been performed. Okay. Now research approach. Going to tell about research approach. So obviously there are only two approaches, quantitative approach or qualitative approach. So in quantitative approach involves the generation of data in quantitative form which can be subjected to rigorous quantitative analysis in the form and rigid fashion. This approach can be further subclassified into inferential, experimental and simulation approach to research. The purpose of inferential approach to research is to form a data base from which to infer a characteristics or relationship of population. Okay. So research approach is basically two types. One is quantitative. All the research is basically whatever your field. Maybe you belongs to humanities, sciences or engineering or any other field. There are only two approaches, quantitative approach and qualitative approach. In quantitative approach, we need to collect the data either from experiment or any other resources, and we need to quantify that data. We need to perform some mathematics on that data. So far, we need to draw any conclusion. That type of research approach comes under in quantitative research approach. So that the same thing is given here. What is the quantitative approach? The quantitative approach involves the generation of data in quantitative form, which can be subjected to rigorous quantitative analysis. Rigorous quantitative analysis in a formal and rigid fashion. This approach can be further subclassified into inferential, experimental and simulation approach to research. The purpose of inferential approach to research is to form a data base from which to infer a characteristics or relationship of population. Okay. Now, I switch myself on qualitative approach of research. So, in qualitative approach of research is concerned with subjective assessment of attitude, opinion and behavior. Okay. Now, research in such a situation is a function of researchers' insight and impressions. Okay. Such an approach to research generate a result either in non-quantitative form or in the form which are not subjected to rigorous quantitative analysis. Okay. Generally, the technique of focus group interview, projective technique and depth interview are used for this qualitative research purpose. How we generate the data? Group interview, on the basis of group interview, projective techniques, and depth interview, so that we can generate our data for qualitative approach. And this is not any number data. It is like yes or no, like, dislike. All these things are comes under qualitative approach of research. Okay. Generally, in science or in engineering streams, this qualitative approach of research is not found. I am not telling it cannot be happen, but generally it is not found in science and engineering based stream. Okay. Now, research approaches. So these are only two approaches, quantitative and qualitative. And after applying the both approaches, you need to what? Collect the data and analysis the data and draw your conclusion. So data is here also. But this data in numerical form. But this data is not in numerical form. Okay. Here data analysis is also rigorous mathematics involves here. Rigorous mathematics involved here for data analysis. Here, no need of rigorous mathematics for data analysis. Okay, so that is research. That is symbolic approach to defining the research approach anywhere, quantitative, and qualitative. Okay. Now, how we perform our research, that comes under section of research methods. Generally, people are aware with this term, research methodology. Okay. So how we perform our research comes under research method. So I am going to tell here the difference between research methods and research methodology. It seems, what is written here, I am just telling, it seems appropriate at this juncture to explain the difference between research methods and research methodology. Research methods may be understood as all those techniques that are used for conduction of research. But research methods are techniques, thus refer to the method the researcher use in performing their research operation. Okay. In other words, all those methods which are used by researcher during the course of studying his research problem are termed as a research methods. Okay. Since the object of research, particularly the applied research, is to arrive at a solution for a given problem, the available data and the known aspects of the problem have to be related to each other to make a possible solution. Keeping in this view, research method can be put into the following three groups. In the first group, we include those methods which are concerned with the collection of data. These methods will be used where the data are already available, are not sufficient to arrive at a required solution. Now the second group consists of those statistical techniques which are used for establishing the relationship between the data and the unknown. And the third one is the third group consists of those methods which are used to evaluate the accuracy of result obtained. Actually, whatever the written here, it is correct. I am going to give a brief, I am going to give the difference between what is the research method and what is the research methodology in very brief manner. Research methodology is broad term, and this research method comes under research methodology. Means, I am going to give one example. Here I am sitting in one room, and this room is made by bricks, sand, cements. So, for making the room, this is the required material. If anyone know, they can use this material and make one room. But research, and this comes under research method. Okay, if anyone want to prepare one room, they can use this material. How can they can utilize? They can take a training and they can prepare one room. But in research methodology, if anyone a master of research methodology, and also if anyone master of research methodology type of making of room, then they can take care of each and every pinpoint influence parameters of making this room and available material. Means maybe bricks, sand, cements are good for this room, but and in this environment, whatever the environment here, but at somewhere else, maybe these materials are not fruitful, not so much beneficial for making a room. But if any expert who are expert of research methods, for that environment, they are use the same material and they can prepare, they try to prepare that room. But any person who have a mastery in research methodology, they can choose their material according to such environment. Obviously, there are some other thing. With the help of that thing, we can make a room. Or suppose, same material should be used in that environment also. But for that environment, we should create a smaller size of bricks. We should use some different type of sand, some different type of cements. That is the mastery, complete mastery of any field. It comes under research methodologies section. And obviously some skills in that section, it comes under research methods. Okay. That is the basic difference. And all this thing is written here, one by one. So, in research methods, what happened? In research methods, may be understood as all those methods, techniques that are used for conduction of research. Okay, that are used for conduction of your research. But research method or technique thus refers to the method the researcher used in performing a research operation. In other words, all those methods which are used by the researcher during the course of studying his research problem are termed as research methods. Okay. Since the object of research, particularly the applied research, is to arrive at a solution for a given problem, the available data and the unknown aspects of the problem have to be related to each other to make a solution possible. Okay. Keeping this in view, research method can be put into the following three groups. In the first group, we include those methods which are concerned with the collection of data. These methods will be used where the data are readily available, are not sufficient to arrive at a required solution. The second group consists of those statistical techniques which are used for establishing the relationship between the data and the unknown. And the third group consists of those methods which are used to evaluate the accuracy of results obtained. Now, I am switching over research methodology. What is the research methodology? Research methodology is a way to systematically solve the research problem. It may be understood as a science of studying how research is done scientifically. In it, we study the various steps that are generally adopted by researcher in studying his research problem along with the logic behind them. So it is necessary for the researcher to know not only the research methods or technique, but also the methodology. That is the main difference. Not only notion of research methods and techniques are not give you the mastery of that subjects. Okay, so it is necessary for the researcher to know not only the research methods or techniques, but also the methodology. Researchers not only need to know how to develop a certain indices or test, how to calculate the mean, the mode, the median, or the standard deviation or chi-square, or how to apply the particular research technique, but they also need to know which of these methods or techniques are relevant and which are not. This thing comes under research methodology. And what would they mean and indicate and why? Okay. So researcher also need to understand the assumptions underlying various techniques, and they need to know the criteria by which they can decide that certain techniques and procedures will be applicable to certain problems and others will not. All this means that it is necessary for the researcher to design his methodology for his problem, as the same may differ from problem to problem. Okay, this is important. Researcher also need to understand the assumptions underlying various techniques and the need to know the criteria by which they can decide that certain techniques and procedures will be applicable to a certain problems and others will not. Means any available techniques is only solve any particular problem, it will not work for all the problem. Okay, so mastery of applying these techniques comes under research methodology. Okay, that's why he is telling which are relevant and which are not, which techniques are relevant for any particular problem and which techniques are not relevant or irrelevant for any particular problem. So notion of these things at a subtle level, at a minute level, comes under research methodology section. Okay, so I am going to repeat again. Researcher also need to understand the assumptions underlying various techniques, and they need to know the criteria by which they can decide that certain techniques and procedures will be applicable to a certain problems and other will not. All this mean that it is necessary for the researcher to design his methodology for his problem. Design his methodology for his problem, as the same may differ. As the same may differ from problem to problem. Means differ your method, research method from problem to problem is known as a research methodology. Is known as a research methodology. For example, an architect who designed a building has to consciously evaluate the basis of his decision. That is, he has to evaluate why and on what basis he select a particular size, number and location of doors, window and ventilator, uses particular material and not others, and like. This is the example of research methodology, where an architect want to make one building, and who designed a building has to continuously evaluate the basis of his decision. That is, he has to evaluate why and on what basis he select a particular size, number and location of doors. Actually, overall it is the mastery, and that mastery will come with the help of practice, doing again and again, then you have to develop your skill like a research methodology definition. Okay. Now again, research process. So there are various process in performing the any research. First, choose a topic. Second, review the literature on that topic. Then after, formulate the problem. Then develop the research question. Research question. Problem is a broader category of research question. Choose and organize the research design. Design your research. How to perform your research. What is the step? What is the time allocation for doing all these experiments? And if experiment is needed, or what is the questions if you are collecting a data with the help of webinar, interview. So what is the question? And it is time bound, one time research or several time research process. Then gather the data, analysis that data, interpret the data and communicate the finding. That is the various step of performing any research. The same thing is written here. Define the research, review your literature, select a research design, formulate a hypothesis. Okay, the same thing is also written here. Interpret your results, report the research finding. Now you can perform again and again the same thing. So this is your research process. Okay, so research by the help of flowchart, I am also giving how you can perform your research. So first you need to define your research problem. That problem is how you can define your research problem. First you need to review your literature, review the literature, choose the topic, review the literature, then you have somehow basic knowledge of your field so that you can pick any problem. So design a research problem, research the literature, review concept and theory, review previous research finding on that field. Now formulate the hypothesis. This hypothesis already exists, or you can you may be implemented on existing hypothesis. You may be add some implementation on existing hypothesis, or you can draw your own hypothesis. Now design a research means including sample design. Now move again forward. Analysis the data, collect the data, analysis the data, test the hypothesis. If the hypothesis fail, you need to further return, collect the data again and again until your hypothesis is accepted. Now interpret your result and report. If this is fail, you need to interpretation, or if even your hypothesis is failed, you need to again define your hypothesis, or you have to go define your research problem, because generally hypothesis is well established until and unless you are doing some path breaking research. So you need to, if all this thing is going to fail, you need to define your research problem again and again. Okay, so research process consists of series of action or step necessary to effectively carry out research, and the desired sequencing of these steps. The chart shown in figure will illustrate a research process. The chart indicates that the research process consists of number of closely related activities as shown in by number through first to seventh. But such activities overlap continuously rather than following a strictly prescribed sequence. Okay, the same figure is here. So, research process, there are various steps in research process. I have already told you, and here from here onwards, I am going to explain each and everything in very brief. So first thing is formulating the research problem. The second is, I have already told you, extensive literature survey, developing the hypothesis, preparing the research design, then determining the sample design, collecting the data, execution of the project, analysis of data, hypothesis testing, generalization and interpretation of your data. Then after, you can draw your conclusion, means preparation of report or preparation of results. And then nowadays people are publishing these results in a journal, academic journals, where research finding will be published. Okay, that thing is known as, this lecture is for student purpose. So maybe some student is not aware what is journal. So journal is nothing but where researcher can publish his research work. Okay, so the first thing is formulating the research problem. So what is the formulating the how we can define what is the formulation of research problem? There are two steps of research problem: those which relate to states of nature and those which relate to relationship between variables. There are two type of research problem which relate to state of nature and those which relate to relationship between variables. At every outset, the researcher must single out the problem he wants to study. That is, he must decide the general area of interest or aspect of a subject matter that he would like to inquire into. Initially, the problem may be stated in a broad, general way, and then ambiguities, if any, then relating to the problem be resolved. The best way of understanding the problem is to discuss it with one's own colleagues or with those having some expertise in the matter. Okay, that is the most important thing. I am giving this lecture for students. and many students will perform in upcoming day some research work for their projects. So research problem. So how they can define research problem? The best way of understanding the problem is to discuss it with own colleagues or with those having some expertise in this area where the student want to work. Okay, expertise in the matter. Now, in an academic institution, the researcher can or a student can seek the help from a guide who is usually an experienced man and has a several research problem in mind. Often, the guide puts forth the problem in general term, and it is up to the researcher to narrow it down and phrase the problem in operational terms. Phrase the problem in operational terms means what he is telling. In general, the guide puts forth the problem in general term means once you meet your supervisor, they will tell you I want to do like that. Once you listen his thought, you will think like it is a very general thing. Why? Because they are putting as a very general way. It's up to you. It's up to the researcher to narrow it down and phrase the problem in operational terms. Okay. In private business units or in government, the problem is usually earmarked by administrative agency with whom the researcher can discuss as to how the problem originally came about and what consideration are involved in its possible solutions. So now I am going to end this video lecture here. Thank you. Thank you to all.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.